This is the video that shows you the extent of the work that is being done. Now, taking down a wall in your house will generally cost £1,500 to £2,500 if it's load bearing. And if you're taking down a wall that's not load bearing, that could cost just about half that. Also, if you don't have any sufficient supports on both sides of that particular wall that you're going to be opening up for the beam to rest on, then you'll have to pay a lot more money to create footings. You have to keep in mind every house is different, so there will be different costings for different houses. Every project that I've done that I've opened up things in the structural way, it has always been different. So for this project, it cost us a lot of money, and part of the payment wasn't agreed in cash. And when you see the cash in your hand, you really kind of realize how expensive this part of the work is. Sometimes it's so expensive that you'll just reject the idea of doing open plan altogether because there's a lot of knock-on effect costs. For example, building control, structural survey, structural engineer. These things could cost you £500 to £1,000 itself, depending on how many elements of your work you are calculating. So in this clip, I had the money, half the payment, I think it was just half the payment in my hands, and it felt sickening to give this over to someone, but you got to do it. This guy was quite reasonable actually, so it would have cost me a lot more if I didn't have this person doing it for me. When we started to knock down the timbers, we realized that this wasn't really tied into anything, so you could just knock it out of the way, essentially, as you can see. And we realized that this wasn't really tied into anything, so you could just knock it out of the way. And at this point, we were just making sure that when we're hammering, that there's nothing else kind of moving or getting affected on the other side of that wall. Just keep in mind, we had a structural engineer come over, so he told us where the points, that if he were to remove these certain particular parts, so he told us where would be the weak points and what we need to support. So we were kind of confident in what we were doing on this day. At this point, I missed the part, I was doing some work upstairs, so I missed the part where they knocked down the first part of the wall. But it was quite quick for them to do this part, so I managed to get this clip at least, which kind of really reveals how dusty it gets and exactly what happens and what kind of supports we put in place. So we put these acros in place. Well, there was a good few supporting the ceiling in the front room. So the front room had joists that span in a particular way that the ceiling was resting on. So we had to put acros in the front room and not put it in the kitchen / dining room, whatever you want to call it. I didn't want to go too close in case one of the bricks fired back at my face or something stupid like that, and then I get injured. Now you can't make out what is going on here too much, but actually, look, this is the clip here. It essentially cranks up the RSJ beam that's too heavy for two people to lift. As I mentioned earlier on, you can now position the beam. Now this is our welder, so he's a certified welder that comes on site and makes adjustments to things as things are changing. So for what I mean by that is, look, one of the beams had to be cut down to size as well, so you've got to be prepared that things can change while on project. So things can change. And then after this is done, we had the final inspection with the builder control officer. I'm joking, that's just my wife.
Oh, wow!
That's Lazelle's natural reaction to this open plan now. Dad has even clocked. Dad was a bit slow there. You like it, Dad?
I brought my lawnmower thing.
What? Don't know what you're talking about. Wow. Open that full wall. He was confused because this all happened in half a day, almost one full day. And my dad was like, what the hell happened? Because obviously when you do this type of work, the whole layout of the house will change just like that. Now this is all prepped up and it had to be kept in this way for until the next day so they can actually put the other bricks in place. I think it was to do with the settling of the cement had to set where the pad stones were put into place, and then the next day they came over, they kind of finished up the floor footing area. Okay, so all in all, it was about a 2-day job. This is the first day, actually 2.5 days. So one day they came prepared the acros in the evening, which is only like 1 hour. And then they came on the first day, did this, and the next day they come and done bits and bobs. Now, if you're thinking of doing open plan yourself, just drop some questions below and we can answer all those questions for you based on our experience. It's not structural advice or anything like that, but it's just our experience. It's something where we can help you out. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.